Hi, Nancy again. I had a note sent to me, and someone wanted me to explain my perception of time. And I had put a simple few minutes, 5 minutes, the other day, a week ago, and I promised to do more, had company out of town. So I'm getting back into the flow of time and experiencing time. And as we get older, you'll notice that time goes faster for a child of 10 waiting for Christmas. It seems like a long time coming to you. That's not what I was referencing. The other day, I was talking to you about how when I enter, when I join with somebody to do a reading, I move my life force from me to the individual I'm talking to. If they speak of somebody, I have a lot of people in Europe. So I have this couple in Italy, and their children are still in the United States. So I move myself, my energy to Italy by Skype. It's wonderful. And then I can talk about each of the three daughters. And I move from me to them, to the girls, get the information, back to the couple, back to me. Now we're accessing time. How can that be possible in half a second? There's no space and distance when we move energy from one point to another. I don't know how. I wish we could travel by plane that fast. Do you remember the movie Dune? I really loved it. They had what we call the planet of spice, and the spice worms would live on the planet, and we had to get the worms. They had to get the worms to create the powder or the product that this other creature would ingest and move spaceships in a blink of an eye from one point to another. I make that reference a couple of times, and I like it because it's amazing to me that the Dune was put out there. And when I watched it, I went, "Oh my gosh!" In the future, I want to be one of those people that can travel, or one of the mystic, the women that could read people's minds. There was a couple people in the I would like to kind of have. So I kind of went around the how do you do this, Nancy? Well, a lot of people will do readings and they have the information right in front of them, like a card or numbers or whatever. In reality, they're moving their life force from themselves to somebody else. Takes a second. Do we access their time to get information? So let's take that next step. When I move my life force to Italy, um, I'm trying to decide if it's all right if I use her name. so so I move it from myself to her. I enter her time here for information. They have a lot of house things going on, so I enter her time to get information. I also stay with her when her mind sends energy to a daughter in the States. So once I blend with them and get in time, when she talks about someone in their family, I move a part of me, even though I may be accessing time, to the person in the United States. And it can almost hurt your brain thinking about it. But I have an engineering background, so I spend a lot of time thinking about it. Okay. So kind of capture that concept that we are doing this. And I think about it all the time. Um, and I've been doing this 30 years, and a lot of my clientele are repeats, so I'm doing something right. So now I want to explain to you my first book talks about accessing time. And if you can envision a wooden broom, a wooden handle with straw knotted up in the center at the one end, and then the wisp part of the broom sprays out. And I looked at the knot as who we are, uh, meaning we have all this action and it's all tied up in this. And as we live every second, that wispy part of the broom that you would do this with, that wispy part is time that's been used. So when I enter someone, time is at the base of your neck. I go down the access of time is right here, and I drop a couple inches, and I can access past very, very easily. Just a minute here. Come on in, be quiet. So I got a girlfriend coming in. I wanted to do another YouTube with her. So that's unused time. When I go forward, the wooden part of the broom is time that's not been used and it's harder to access. So I always thought that time was linear, going from past to present in a straight line. So when someone says, I'll reference the girl in Italy because we talk a lot. And she says, I have this action coming in the future. Tell me how it is. So if I said to you, okay, she wants something in a week, you think about traveling time from today to a week, um, then you think, oh, how much time does it take to get there? Well, it's very fast. What kind of distance does that look like? Well, you can almost say, oh, that's not too bad. But what if I said I went to talk to somebody and it was actually years that she wanted me to go? So if you think about how far in the future, how do I travel that distance? Do I go around the planet for every day, for every year? Da, 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 da. So what if I talk 10, 15, 20 years in the future? Am I traveling around the sun, trying to get to that place in time? It doesn't work that way. We have all our time bunched up against us. At one time, I thought it was linear going around each planet, our planet, day and night, day and night. Can't work that way. Can you imagine 7 billion people and their times all wrapped around the planet over and over and over? I also am very scientifically oriented. I love any article on planetary uh, actions, the sun's, anything to do with outer space. Uh, I'm really interested. I love the creation idea. I love to look at the filaments of the universe and how we're all knit together. I like the how it was determined how magnetism work and how time affects the planets. Everything about that. I was trying to think of an article I just read, how they're measuring how the universe must look like when gravitational forces are pulling around us all the time. Anyway, so I really had to think about where is time and how does it affect each of us and where is it that we go. So then it realized that we are a magnet and we keep our life force around us, and that our time, whether it's used or not, it's all around us in a bubble. And I said to you the day, I felt like when I enter time, it seems like I go forward because it's in front of us. We haven't gotten there yet. But I don't think we now go very far. It almost looks like a slinky around us. How big is that slinky? When I travel and they say go to that moment in the future. So a friend of mine just got a job, and I was able to tell her about the job months back. So that hadn't happened yet. But the reason I picked it up was that she was so excited that I went to that day when she started her job and I could explain it. Now, it didn't feel like I went very far. Yet, if I can go to Italy in a second rather, then accessing her future in a second was also available to me. But I went to the day that she wanted to show and tell me about it so I could describe it. But it's not very far. I don't go an arm's length. I don't go zillion miles in the future around the planet. It's all encompassing all around us. So when I started realizing we live in a bubble of our own time, so when I enter time, it feels like I'm just reaching here and there looking at things. So we have an invisible, I love a slinky. I used to play with it when I was a kid. It looks like it's rounding us all the time, unused time. If it's tight, it's not used, but it's still available. And it feels like it ebbs and flows. So when they looked at the universe, they said that magnetism makes time wobble, and the energy around the planet, we're wobbling in space all the time. So I feel like we are a magnet to our own time. We pull it to us, but it's not solid and straight. So sometimes when someone can't get a reading correctly, you may have a lot of emotional in your life. It's more wobbly. I have another friend in the United States. She's a solid, strong woman, but she doesn't have a lot of activity going in her life. So it's a calmer life, but she's very solid. So the wobble to access the next event is not a lot, but she also doesn't have a lot of things for me to get blocked from seeing the future. Sometimes it's hard to see how far in the future it is. If someone has a lot of activity in their life, I have to bump through it to get to the end result of what she's asking for. For this lady in Kentucky, it seems like I go to her time quicker. So I'm just accessing time and it bumps into something in the future. I have seen the same job change for her for years, but her life is calm, it's quiet, and she hasn't gotten to the place where that will happen. But the surrounding people in her life, their lives are changing. And when I told her about it, I said, this person in your life will be this looking like this as a child. Now that child looks like that. Now these actions will happen to create the move. But because you can't have it in a week, that person I was talking about wasn't that size, wasn't done with college. So I kind of went too fast there for you. Sorry. Accessing time is instantaneous with our energy. Yes, it's very tiring. I leave a little piece with you when I talk to you. Time is not going around the planet 5 years worth. Can you imagine? Boom, 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 like that craziness, right? But it's all compacted around us and not that far away. When I say it feels like it's close, days versus weeks, months, it's how far do I go, but it's all relative to my definition of how close time is to me. Keep losing the screen, and that's why the like, I think it's time for me to close this up. I hope I didn't confuse you more. The little lady that sent me a note, thank you very much. It was private. Do I read the information every time I do of YouTube? I will. It just life's busy. I got a lot of clients that keep talking to me, and life is busy. So I will answer those under YouTube. If you want me to get something right away, do email me. Nancy at nancymatz.com. And thank you very much. We'll talk again. Bye bye.